Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. We're all ready to go, so let's get into some headlines on the news. First, we've got my first headline, which is France's democratic crisis. Macron does not have enough votes to match the opposition in France.
And United States citizens evacuated from the Sudan. Hear that? It's loud enough? Yeah, okay.
Journalists who have worked in Moscow call for release of Evan Gersovich.
Amid a legal onslaught, Trump faces writer's suit accusing him of rape. Guy does it all.
Europe failing its children on air pollution, the EEA says. Dirty air causes premature death of at least 1,200 children across Europe every year.
And those stories and more, if we can find more sports and more interesting stories about entertainment today and this day in history on February. Goodness, what is it? February. April 24th, 1923. Free edition of Before Coffee. It's February.
All right, into my first story here with the drama in France. 1 year ago today, Emmanuel Macron was re-elected as president of France, yet no one seems to be in the mood for the party. Macron is doing badly in the polls. Only 26% of the French people still trust him. Demonstrations have been taking place across France against Macron's pension reforms since January. This leads to concerns about the state of the country. We are in the worst democratic crisis France has ever seen in decades, says historian and sociologist Pierre Rosanvolan. Political scientist Andrin Broche sums up, there is a social crisis, there is a political crisis, and more than 3/4 of the French say the French democracy is in bad shape. In short, all signals are on red. From day one, very little support. What's going on in France? For what we know from back in time, on April 24th, 2022, Emmanuel Macron won the presidential election for the second time. He has already served 5 years as head of state and was therefore allowed by voters to stick it up for another 5 years. But it was not a victory with flying colors. Many French people did not vote. As a result, Macron ultimately received the support of only 38.5% of all French voters, a minority. It made no legal sense. The winner is the one with the most votes, but there were warnings about a president with relatively little public support. 2 months later, parliamentary elections were held in France. Macron's party became the largest, but failed to win the absolute majority. He had to negotiate with the opposition before passing a bill. Declining turnout has played a role in the background. The enthusiasm to vote has been decreasing for years among the French. For example, only 46% of the French entered the voting booth in the parliamentary elections. By the way of comparison, in the Netherlands, the turnout was in the last parliamentary election was 78.7, which we've talked about before in the past, when the Farmers' Party basically won every single parliamentary election because of the high turnout rate.
That's high turnout of people that were disinterested.
Yeah.
Double-edged sword.
In that climate, Emmanuel Macron began his second term in the office. Raising the retirement age from 62 to 64 was the first major reform in the new political context. With little political support as president and without majority in parliament, President Macron tried to overcome those obstacles. He initially wanted to raise the retirement age to 65, but because of social resistance, he made a concession and made it 64. The resistance remained the same. Macron negotiated in Parliament with the Conservative opposition to gain support for his plans. That also failed. There was no majority. The result, the president pushed through the plan the French did not like. He simply sidelined Parliament because most MPs would vote against it. Somebody has a poster here. Margaret Macron, where it's Macron's face on Margaret Thatcher's face.
Oh boy.
Because she was famous for cutting off milk from school children, right?
Right. We can't afford these healthy children. Hell their future. Go ahead.
Meanwhile, 3 months of strikes and demonstrations by millions of French people have taken place, making the pension protest among the largest in French history. The vote of the street should now outweigh the vote of the electorate, the president said. And everyone who's ever studied democracy disagrees with that.
Don't forget Ronald Reagan. Don't forget Ronald Reagan, who once famously had ketchup declared a vegetable for school lunches.
Oh,
What do you mean? You're getting ketchup? Okay.
in fact, there's no in-between. But the voters' vote is 38.5% of the French who voted for him. That is what many protesters mean when they say that Macron is not the people's president. The pension protests expose the legitimacy problem warned about a year ago. Macron has too little support from the French and too little friends in parliament. Critics say Macron has driven voters away and antagonized the opposition. Macron's opponent cannot make a fist either. The opposition in parliament is hugely divided. They fail to offer an alternative together in coalitions, and the trade unions have mobilized millions of French people in recent months, but the result has been nil. The protest has had no effect. The pension crisis had only producers, not losers. Has only produced losers. The crisis we are going through has not been good for anyone. Democracy is divided and weakened. Emmanuel Macron is our legitimate president, but legitimate does not mean you can do what you want. A president has responsibilities. He must listen. Emmanuel Macron still has 4 years left as president. He is now plotting a route for the next 100 days. In the short period of time, new policy plans must be launched, and he also wants to regain the confidence of the French. Good luck with that when you just won't do one simple thing, which is drop. Like, that's all you have to do. Oh, sorry, I should have listened to you, but it's too late now. If you did it instantly, people would be on his side, but the fact that he's drawn it out for 3 months is just like, okay, you don't care about the people who are in your country. You just care about I promised to do this to get elected.
It's probably well timed for him because he has 4 years, you said?
Yeah.
4 years is a long time in politics.
I know.
It's not like, oh no, not 4 years, we'll never see that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly right, because 2 weeks from now, he'll be like, he rolls on a new policy making it, some liberal thing, and 20% of the liberals will forget, like, we'll. But then again, France is always teetering, as Europe is always, fascism, which Italy's already supported by putting Mussolini's granddaughter in charge of their ruling party or whatever.
Not Italy.
Italy. Did I say Italy? I'm pretty sure I said Italy.
Mussolini is famously Italian, so.
I did say Italy.
Oh, okay, but why are we talking about Italy when we're talking about France?
Because Europe is teetering on the brink of fascism at all times. So, yeah.
Okay.
We're already there, so I'm not even worried about it. We're already at fascism. We got the rich people going, I can't believe poor people don't have enough guns to shoot each other. Give them more guns. That's what we're saying. Seriously. Right? Kill them all. We don't care. We got too many poor people making trouble. Let's even kill each other. And the poor people are like, yes, let's kill each other. Okay.
All right. Well, your story.
I have no stories to back that up except everyday life. Okay. And another U.S. news in Sudan. Special forces swiftly evacuate U.S. embassy from Sudan. Let's see if I can put this somewhere so I can scroll it with one hand. Scrolly. U.S. Special Operations Forces carried out a precarious evacuation of the U.S. Embassy in Sudan on Sunday, sweeping in and out of the capital with helicopters on the ground for less than an hour. No shots were fired, no major casualties were reported. With the final embassy employee out of Khartoum, the United States shuttered its diplomatic mission indefinitely. Remaining behind in the East African nation are thousands of private American citizens. U.S. officials said it would be too dangerous to carry out broader evacuation operation. Battles between two rival Sudanese commanders had forced the closing of the main international airport, left roads out of the country in control of armed fighters. The skirmishes had killed more than 400 people at this point. In a statement thanking the troops, President Joe Biden said he was receiving regular reports from his team on efforts to assist remaining Americans in Sudan to the greatest extent possible. He called for the end of the unconscionable violence there. About 100 U.S. troops and 3 MH-47 helicopters carry out the operation. They airlifted all the roughly 70 remaining American employees in a landing zone at the embassy to an undisclosed location in Ethiopia. Ethiopia also provided overflight and refueling support, said Molly Fee, an Assistant Secretary of American Affairs. Biden said Djibouti, I love the name of that country, Djibouti. And Saudi Arabia provided assistance too. Thank you, Saudi Arabia. Yes. And I'm proud of the extraordinary commitment to our embassy staff who perform their duties with courage and professionalism, embody America's friendship and connection with the people of Sudan. Biden said in a statement, I'm grateful for the unmatched skill of our service members who successfully brought them to safety. U.S. Africa Command, as Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mark Miley, were in contact with the factions before and during the operation to ensure the U.S. forces would have safe passage to conduct the evacuation. John Bass, an Undersecretary of State, denied claims of Sudan's paramilitary rapid security forces that had assisted in the U.S. evacuation. They cooperated to the extent that it did not fire on our service members in the course of the operation, Bass said. Biden had ordered American troops to evacuate the embassy personnel after receiving recommendations from his national security team, with no end in sight to the fighting. The tragic violence of Sudan has already cost the lives of hundreds of innocent civilians. It's unconscionable and must stop. The belligerent parties must implement an immediate and unconditional ceasefire, allow unhindered humanitarian access, and respect the will of the people of Sudan, Biden said. Sudan's fighting broke out April 15th between two commanders who just 18 months earlier jointly orchestrated a military coup to derail the nation's transition to democracy. The power struggle between the armed forces of General Abdel Fattah Burhan and the head of the Rapid Support Forces military group, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, has millions of Sudan's cowering inside their homes. And the story was from the Associated Press. There's more, but it kind of just repeats.
It just kind of goes into the many different degrees of how awful it is. Yeah.
Yeah. This faction took this piece of land. Today, this piece of land, whatever. That random fighting changes every day. Doesn't get anywhere. Ed, you're sturdy.
All right. Good luck to everyone in Sudan, I guess. What happens when you deregulate the globe? Deregulate the globe.
And stabilize the country. Well, Sudan stabilized their own country there. They had a military coup, and the two military leaders couldn't figure out who's in charge. So they're fighting already. So, yeah, you got democracy loses, stupidity wins again.
In Russian news, more than 300 journalists write to Russia that arrest of Evan Gershovich sends dangerous signal about attitude towards journalism. Gershovich, who was detained in the Ural cities of Yekaterinburg last month on spying charges that carry a possible 20-year prison sentence, is the first U.S. journalist detained on such a charge since the end of the Cold War. Both the Wall Street Journal and the U.S. government has denied that he was involved in espionage. The 301 signatories of the letter include the BBC's Orla Guerin, the former New York Times journalist Bill Keller, John Kampfner, the executive director of Chatham House think tank, and David Remnick, the editor of The New Yorker. Between them and the journalists Between them, the journalists have worked for media outlets from 22 different countries. The earliest signatory arrived in Moscow in 1964, which was the most recent left in the past week. Letter addressed to Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says journalists are shocked and appalled by the arrest and subsequent charges laid against him, and urges the dropping over the charges and his immediate release. Evan has a long and impressive record of journalistic work, it reads. We have no doubt that the only purpose and intention of his work was to inform his readers about the current realities in Russia. Seeking out information, even if it means upsetting political interests, does not make Evan a criminal or a spy, and makes him a journalist. Journalism is not a crime. It goes on, the arrest sends as a disturbing and dangerous signal about Russia's disregard for independent media and shows indifference to the fate of a young, talented, and honest journalist. Evan Gersovich, 31, was detained by Russia's FSB security service on the 29th of March, shortly after he arrived at the steakhouse in Ekaterinburg during his second trip to the Urals in a month. Within the hours of the arrest, the Russian officials were publicly stating that Gershovich's guilt was beyond doubt, adding to the sense that the arrest was politically motivated. The Kremlin said he was carrying out espionage under the cover of journalism, while Lavrov told the U.S. that he was caught red-handed while trying to obtain secrets. He is currently being held in Lefortovo prison, which in Soviet times was run by the KGB, but is now operated by the Federal Penitentiary Service. I hate that word. At a hearing last Tuesday, a judge rejected an appeal to the decision to hold him in detention before his trial. The journalist's letter follows similar calls from the Washington Gershovich's employer. The Wall Street Journal vehemently denies the allegations from SFB and seeks the immediate release of our trusted and dedicated reporter. The letter said in the statement, "We stand in solidarity with Evan and his family." The U.S. government has been outspoken in its condemnation of Gershovich's arrests. Antony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, said the detention was part of the Kremlin's continued attempts to intimidate and repress and punish journalists and civil society voices, while the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, describes the charges as ridiculous and unacceptable. Well, that's what happens when you try to side with the other side. They will use everything they can to stop America from involving themselves in European problems by, we're gonna arrest all your journalists, or we're gonna, I don't know, whatever they are doing, encounter to try to force America's hand, I guess. Your next story.
Ooh, I'm still looking for our next story. Okay, we'll go back to shit. Man, I love this phone. It just closes everything when you don't want to close. This will only take a second. I think it'll only take a second. Long second.
Don't buy an iPhone. This is what you're saying to me.
No, I'm just saying hate everything constantly. That's what I'm saying. It says 6 minutes.
Hate everything constantly.
Never thinking, boy, that good thing's gonna happen. No, just kidding. It's called cynicism. Mid legal onslaught. Well, thanks, I'll read it. Mid legal onslaught, Trump faces a writer's suit for accusing of rape. This is from New York Times. Benjamin Weiser. E. Jane Carroll wants her story of an attack in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room proved under law. He lobbied to pass. After years of accusation and denials, the trial begins Tuesday. Last year, when New York lawmakers were considering creating a one-year window for sexual abuse victims to sue their long-ago attackers, among the bill's ardent supporters was E. Jane Carroll. Ms. Carroll, a magazine columnist and author, in 2019 had accused former President Donald J. Trump of raping her nearly 25 years before in a Manhattan department store dressing room, published the allegation in New York Magazine. She spoke at a news conference at the state capitol in Albany alongside sexual abuse survivors and sent passionate letters to assembly members calling for the law to be passed. I stayed silent for years after I was attacked, wrote Ms. Carroll, and by staying silent lost my chance to hold my attacker accountable. The measure passed, and shortly after midnight, November 24th, when it took effect, Ms. Carroll sued Trump on Tuesday. Sued Ms. Trump. Period. On Tuesday, the case is scheduled for trial in federal district court in Manhattan, where after years of accusations, angry denials, traded in articles, interviews, and social media, a jury will be charged with determining the truth. The proceeding will take place amid a barrage of legal cases aimed at Mr. Trump, who is running to regain the presidency and arguing that the suits and investigations are meant to drag him down. It comes the weeks after Mr. Trump's appearance in the Manhattan Supreme Court, where he pleaded not guilty, stemming from his hush money payment to a porn star, and recent appearances in Manhattan where he questioned under oath in civil fraud lawsuits brought by Attorney General Letitia James of New York. Mr. Trump is also facing criminal investigation in Fulton County, Georgia, District Attorney over attempted interference in the 2020 election, and the federal special counsel and by a special federal counsel over his decision to keep sensitive government documents in his Mar-a-Lago residence, and for his role in events leading up to the January 6, 2021 assault on the Capitol. Is denied wrongdoing in all cases. Oh yeah, well, I'm perfectly innocent of all these things I actually did and everybody saw me do. A cyclone of news coverage followed his arraignment. His history of attacking judges, law enforcement officials, and even individual jurors in other matters has led the judge in Ms. Carroll's case, Lewis A. Kaplan case, to take steps to protect jurors who might fear retribution from the president's supporters. He ordered that they be kept anonymous, even from the lawyers and parties. Mr. Trump has denied he raped Ms. Carroll, 79, and has attacked her repeatedly in public statements and on social media, both calling that totally false, and he said he could not have raped her because she was not his type. What, she's not a porn star? More recently, in October, in a post on Truth Social, Mr. Trump called the case a complete con job. He said her accusation was a hoax and a lie, and that it never happened. He also said COVID was a hoax and a lie. Don't forget that. Mr. Trump is not required to attend the trial, which is expected to last 1 or 2 weeks, and Ms. Carroll's lawyers have made clear they do not intend to call him as a witness. The judge noticed in a recent order. Mr. Trump could decide to testify in his own defense under oath, a far different matter than talking to the press on television. Legal experts said both sides would face hurdles. Decades have passed since the encounter, memories fade. Ms. Carroll denied reporting to the police, but the experts said the greater burden will likely fall on the attorney, Mr. Trump. The biggest challenge of the client, said Jennifer Keller, a lawyer, represented Kevin Spacey before Judge Kaplan in October, when the jury found that Mr. Spacey not liable in a suit that accused him of making sexual advance to a 14-year-old in 1986. Mr. Trump was reportedly has repeatedly attacked Mrs. Carroll and insulted her in personal terms. He appears to be uncoachable, egomaniacal. He's somebody who can stand on a podium in front of a throng of miners and blast forth with all his insults and dark talk and even an American Armageddon if he's not elected. But I don't see how any of that is going to play in the courtroom. Okay, man, it says it's a 6-minute read, but these people must read really super fast because there's no way I can read the next 10 paragraphs in 2 minutes. No way. New York Times lies to their readers. There's no reader that can read that in 6 minutes. They can peruse it in 6 minutes.
I think reading is faster than speaking.
True, but still, it's way longer than 6 minutes. I'll try it. I'll time myself, but damn, there's no way. We time these, right? We definitely time them. They're timed in the bar at the bottom for how long these stories. I'm like, God, I've been reading this forever, and it's still even halfway there.
You can always just skip paragraphs. That's what I do.
I'm trying.
All right. Well, my next story.
I fell asleep on that one. Okay, go ahead.
My next story is about how Europe is slowly become a polluted air mess. Europe is failing its children when it comes to air pollution, exposing nearly all children across the continent to air that falls below healthy standards and delaying the cleanup of sources of pollution, research has found. Breathing dirty air causes the premature death of at least 1,200 children across Europe each year, and many thousands more are afflicted with physical and mental health problems that could have lifelong impacts, according to the latest assessment of air pollution by the European Environment Agency. Gerardo Sanchez Martinez, an expert in environment and health at the EEA, said, "You can't think about children as little adults. When it comes to air pollution, they receive more pollution and it starts in the womb and continues into kindergarten and onwards. We are failing our children on air pollution. Children are particularly susceptible to dirty air, as pollutants can have an impact on their development that is permanent. The impacts begin before birth, with studies linking to pollution to low birth weight and premature birth." Hans Brunix, executive director of EEA, urged countries to do more. Air pollution levels across Europe are still unsafe, and European air quality policy should aim to protect all citizens, but especially our children, who are most vulnerable to health impacts of air pollution. It is urgent that we continue to step up measures at the EU, at national and local level, to protect our children who cannot protect themselves. The surest way to keep them safe is by making the air we breathe cleaner. Reducing the sources of air pollution, including road traffic, coal and solid fuel burning, and industrial emission, is key. Action should be taken to reduce the specific risk to children, according to the EEA. These could include putting clean air zones around schools, where traffic would be restrained and idling engines prohibited. Local authorities and schools should also look at planting trees, ivy screens, and hedge fences around playgrounds. The UK was not included in the EEA assessment, as the UK government has opted out of membership post-Brexit, even though several other non-EU countries, including Norway and Switzerland and Iceland, are members. The EEA's publication, entitled Europe's Air Quality Status 2023, published on Monday, covers 37 countries, including all EU member states, and Turkey, Serbia, Kosovo, and Montenegro, as examples of air pollutants, including particulates, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, and sulfur dioxide. Eastern European states came out worse, largely owing to the burning of coal for domestic heating, along with Italy, where industrial pollution in the Po Valley was identified as a key problem. Across Europe, 97% of the population of all ages were exposed to levels of air pollution higher than those deemed safe by the World Health Organization, according to the EEA. But air pollution experts pointed to research by King's College London and Imperial College London that has shown that the UK government could achieve the more stringent targets, which are supported by the public in polls, if it took stronger action on the sources of pollution, which includes diesel cars and wood-burning stoves. We have cleaner air, but we want it to be cleaner. Now, I would have loved to make our target achieve 10 micrograms by 2030, not 2040. Many of the parts of the country have enjoyed this, but the evidence shows us that the best will in the world cannot be achieved everywhere by the end of the decade, particularly in London. Yeah, cities are going to have a much harder time cleaning up their air, because it's not just, cities are dirty or whatever, but cities are so condensed, right? There's not a lot of diffusion, right? Because you can make a bunch of pollution one side of the city, and it will stay there, okay? Because it doesn't have anywhere else to go, because it's surrounded by other stuff, other heat and other pollution all over the place.
You have trees. They do breathe carbon dioxide. Yeah.
All right, your next story.
Okay, so here's the next 6-minute read that takes 4 or 5 minutes. This is about the New York Times again, where they think 6 minutes is 20 minutes. Bed Bath & Beyond files for bankruptcy.
Oh no, my childhood.
This is from Jordan Holman and Lauren Hirsch. The company, which failed to fully reckon with the rise of online shopping, said the store closings would begin on Wednesday. Bed Bath & Beyond came out of the 2008 downturn at winter. While competitors like Sharper Image and Linens and Things filed for bankruptcy, Bed Bath & Beyond actually expanded its business by acquiring other retailers. Its homegrown It's home goods emporiums full of towels and KitchenAids, all available at reduced price. With all that big blue coupon were beacons that kept shoppers coming back. Now, as the U.S. economy experienced another period of uncertainty, Bed Bath & Beyond is no longer on top. The result of an increasingly unwieldy corporate structure and its failure to reckon with the ascendance of online shopping. On Sunday, the 52-year-old retailer said it was filing for bankruptcy protection in the United States Bankruptcy Court for a district of New Jersey. It said it would start the process of closing the company's 360 Bed Bath & Beyond stores and 160 Bye Bye Baby locations on Wednesday and seek to sell all parts of its business. In its Chapter 11 filing, the company said it expected all stores to be closed by June 30th. It will stop accepting its coupons on Wednesday when its store closing sales will begin. Customers will have until May 8th to use Bed Bath & Beyond gift cards. The company did not specify when its store apps would shut down, saying that the customers would continue using them at this time. Thank you to all our loyal customers, the company said on its website. We have made difficult decision to begin winding down our operation. The help fund its operations in bankruptcy. Bed Bath & Beyond has raised $240 million from the investment firm 6th Street Special Lending. The company's decline offers a glimpse into the forces shaping its post-pandemic retail landscape. For companies like Bed Bath & Beyond, whose financial problems were masked as consumers rushed to spend their stimulus money, the economic concerns of the past few months are exposing those weaknesses. It will become even more crucial for retailers to adapt as spenders cut back on discretionary spending. We are going to see Darwinism in retail play out in 2023, said Michael Lesner, a retail analyst at UBS, has been covered Bed Bath & Beyond for 16 years. The past several years have been tumultuous for retailers. In 2020, JCPenney, Neiman Marcus, J.Crew all filed for bankruptcy. In the past 2 years, retailers have benefited from U.S. consumers' willingness to spend. Now, as shoppers are being more discerning about their purchases, more companies will be at risk. You mean now that the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates to make money tighter? Yeah, it has nothing to do with consumer spending. It has to do with people saying, "You got too much money. Let's make it worth less." What's happening? Let's make inflation worse by raising prices on mortgages. Yeah, idiots. Idiots control things in all cases. Compared with a store like Macy's, the upstart retailer promised a larger selection of bed sheets, towels, shower curtains. These people are trying to act like their business model failed. I'm not sure it did. Compared with stores like Macy's, the upstart retailer promised a larger selection of bed sheets, towels, shower curtains, and other home accessories. As their merchandise assortments and store base expanded, the retailer was renamed Bed Bath & Beyond in 1987 and went public in 1992. In Embrace Innovation, former executives and employees said, instead of TV ads, Bed Bath & Beyond relied on word-of-mouth advertising and the large coupons it delivered to millions of Americans' mailboxes. Countless shoppers would keep those 20% off cards in their cars or junk drawers, a reminder to head to the retailer if they were considering, say, a new toaster. In 2000, Bed Bath & Beyond had 311 stores. A decade later, it had 1,100. In 2012, the company acquired Harmon Stores, Christmas Tree Shops, Bye Bye Baby, and Cost Plus World Market. The brands helped diversify the company from retail perspective, but the moves diverted management's focus away from other crucial investments like its e-commerce business, according to Richard McMahon. So Bed Bath & Beyond is going bye-bye. Or story.
Okay. Rest in peace, the place that I would go to get all my shower products.
Bath bombs. Get your bath bomb. Get my Wednesday.
All right.
Going on a business sale. Lots of bargains, folks. Go ahead.
In culture, we're looking at how Boba Fett's actor's Star Wars memorabilia goes up for auction. Remarkably, the collection of British actor who played the bounty hunter in call movies is put up for sale in the UK. A collection of Star Wars memorabilia, from action figures to key rings, a space helmet, even an original script gathered over by the years by the actor who played the bounty hunter Boba Fett, is up for auction. Though he has only made a brief appearance in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett became a cult character, and the British actor who played him, Jeremy Bulloch, diligently collected items relating to him. On May the 4th, a nod to the Jedi phrase, "May the 4th be with you," fans will be able to bid for the memorabilia at a sale run by East Bristol Auctions in the UK. As well as collecting souvenirs from when the films were made, Bulloch, who died in 2020, gathered memorabilia from fans at Star Wars conventions. The auctioneer, Andrew Stowe, said Jeremy didn't just star in the franchise, he was a massive fan himself. His love for the movies and the fans took him all over the world, and wherever he'd go, he would purchase or be given Boba Fett memorabilia. His home museum contained everything from Boba Fett tea towels to rare action figures. Very rare for an actor to have such a deep-rooted connection to the role, let alone amass a collection of this scale. Among the 400 lots is a Boba Fett helmet that a fan made for him, constructed out of steel but with foam lining so it can be warm. It was displayed in Bulloch's home office for many years. It is estimated to fetch up to £800. One curiosity is a painting of Boba Fett surrounded by Italian Renaissance-style cherub and clouds. Bulloch said the artist knew how fond he was of those things, Italian things, and he displayed it in his home museum with an estimate between £250 and £500. Bulloch's own vintage Boba Fett action figure is expected to fetch up £1,200. The catalog describes this as a rare opportunity for Star Wars toy collectors to purchase an action figure owned by the actor who performed as the character. Though Boba Fett did not appear in the prequel Revenge of the Sith, Bulloch did make a cameo appearance in the film and hung on to his copy of the script, which is estimated to fetch up to £600. Bulloch died at the age of 75 from complications related to Parkinson's disease, and part of the proceeds of the auction will go to Parkinson's UK. So extensive was Bulloch's collection that it had to be split in two. In May last year, the first part made £155,000. Well, good for Parkinson's. Get all that money from somebody who tragically lost their life. Complications. I guess to the news of the news of the day, of the date.
Oh, okay. Oh, this day in history, you mean? Okay,
Yeah.
This day in history. The French Army officer. Oh, here comes some French words. French officer Claude Joseph Rog and Ally composed La Marseillaise, the French national anthem. If you know how to pronounce that,
Marseillaise. The French national anthem. French.
He composed it on this day in 1792. On this day in 1800, the Library of Congress was officially founded as U.S. President John Adams approved $5,000 books and made necessary for use of Congress. The Library of Congress, born in 1800. 1877, war broke out between Russia and the Ottoman Empire. 1898, Spain declared war on the United States after the sinking of the USS Maine, or the explosion of USS Maine. Spain declared war on the United States. I think after the United States declared war on them too. But it just says Spain declared war on the United States. Painter William de Koning was born in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, in this day. He was leading exponents of abstract expressionism. He was born this day in 1904. And 1905, American novelist, poet, and critic Robert Penn Warren was born. So a year later, we're just having writers and poets born on this day. 1916, members of the Irish Volunteers of the Irish Citizenry Army seized strategic points in Dublin during the Easter Rising, which heralded the end of British power in Ireland. In 1949, communist forces captured the Chinese capital Nanking after crossing the Yangtze River, virtually unopposed by adherents of the national government and President Chiang Kai-shek, as the communists began their takeover of China. In 1967, Soviet cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov became the first man to die during a space mission when his spacecraft became entangled in his parachute during an attempted landing. U.S. forces in 1980 launched a mission to rescue American hostages in Iran, but the attempt failed and 8 U.S. service members were killed. 2003, U.S. officials in North Korea informed U.S. diplomats it had nuclear weapons and was making bomb-grade plutonium. Screw you, North Korea. American businessman Estee Lauder died this day in 2004. He co-founded the hugely profitable fragrance and beauty company. His birthday's on this day. Barbra Streisand, born in 1942. Kelly Clarkson, born in 1982. Sachin Tendulkar, Indian cricketer. You're into cricket and you're Indian. 1973. Happy birthday to that dude.
Happy birthday to that dude.
It's also Shirley MacLaine's birthday. Born in 1934. American director Richard Donner was born on this day in 1930. And what day is it? It is Yom HaZikaron, is the official Remembrance Day of the fallen soldiers and victims of terrorism. It is the World Day for Animals in Laboratories. There you go, World Day. Throw them a party for those animals in the laboratories. So Scream Day. I scream, you scream, we all scream for Scream Day. It's Scream Day today. I'm gonna go outside later and scream and see if anybody
Scream into a pillow.
I just want to do that. See what happens. See if somebody else off in the distance does the same thing. It's also New Kids on the Block Day. Boy, this is really packed. This is cram-packed with things. It's National Skipping Day, so you can skip while you scream and listen to your New Kids on the Block. It's National Pigs in a Blanket Day, so give your pig a blanket. Now, pigs in a blanket, these little tiny hot dogs wrapped up in dough, and you fry them.
Your phone's on the in front of the camera.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're slowly blocking yourself.
It's also National Brandon Day. So if your name is Brandon and you're skipping rope and you're screaming, you're totally excused. International Day for Multilateralism and Diplomacy for Peace. That's got a long name. Multilateralism is a long word and people don't know what it means. But it just says, we'll just call it peace. How about that?
Yeah.
Fashion Revolution Day. It's Fashion Revolution Day. And today is the coronation of Pope Benedict, the 16th? And Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, and Action Day for Tolerance and Respect Between People. A whole lot of stuff going on today. They decided April 24th is a perfect day to celebrate all those things. And that is all for today. And my camera, there I am, locked up in a minute.
No, you're good. That has been Allison from the Netherlands talking about how journalism is dead and air pollution is going to kill us all. I'll see you tomorrow for some more hopeful news from Europe.
And in the U.S., where we have war, bankruptcies, and rape trials, and it's National Yelling Day. So I'm going to go out there. Actually, it's International Yelling Day. So it's International Yelling Day. I'm going to go out there and April 24th, 2023 edition of Before Coffee. Get out there and yell!
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.